Okay, hello everybody. My name is Lisa Marshall. I am the Director of Organizing and Advocacy at New Yorkers for Clean Power, and it's my pleasure to be your MC tonight for this Renewable Heat Now April Power Hour. As you come in, please introduce yourselves in the chat, type in your name, pronouns, your location in New York, and one thing you've done this month to help pass the New York Heat Act. And I have with me a great crew. I have Andra and Jessica from Agree New York, Liz Moran from Earth Justice, and Kim Fracek from Sane Energy Project. And we're going to just update you on all things related to the Renewable Heat Now campaign, and especially our campaign to win the New York Heat Act in the budget. So next slide, please. So our agenda tonight, we always like to introduce our campaign, and our signature legislation that we are working so hard to pass, the New York Heat Act. We're going to just go over the amazing grassroots power that the climate movement, Renewable Heat Now, and others have generated over the past month, talk about the state of the budget and where we are in terms of the politics, and take some actions together, and then we'll let you go right at 8 or just before 8 if we get through it fast enough. So next slide. Okay, the Renewable Heat Now campaign is a campaign, not an organization, made up of multiple organizations, everything from local grassroots groups to statewide or even national groups, policy groups, and people who implement clean energy solutions, as well as everything in between. And so there's over 20 groups that are members of Renewable Heat Now. And we've been around for about 8 years trying to really help the energy transition in New York, buildings off of fossil fuels and onto the wonderful technologies of heat pumps. So next slide. Why do we focus on buildings? I think you guys all know this by now, but buildings are the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in New York State, and that's because we burn fossil fuels in almost all our buildings for heating, for hot water, and for cooking. And because mostly the fuel that we use for heating hot water and cooking is gas, so-called natural gas or fracked gas or methane gas, which leaks and leaks and leaks into the atmosphere and has a really high greenhouse gas, greenhouse global warming potential. So that what that means is that every molecule of methane that gets into the atmosphere actually has 100 times approximately more warming than every molecule of carbon dioxide, at least when you look at the short term, the 20-year period, and that's how we calculate it in New York. So because methane leaks all along from the fracking fields of Pennsylvania through the pipelines, through the compressor stations, and into our houses, it really causes this very large greenhouse gas impact. And then after the very end of that, we burn it and create carbon dioxide. So this combination of the burning of the methane and the leaking of the methane means that methane gas is our biggest problem in terms of accelerating climate change. Next slide, please. So what is this New York Heat Act that we're trying to pass? HEAT stands for the Home Energy Affordable Transition Act, and it's a pretty big bill that has a lot of positive impacts for New York. First of all, most of us are here because we care about climate change, and the New York Heat Act is going to change the public service law to allow the utilities to provide essential energy services that are not gas. Right now, the law says they have to provide gas, and we have to keep paying into the system that expands the gas system and maintains the gas system, which is billions and billions of our dollars. And so we need to change this so that the utilities can provide us with the efficient electric heating energy that we know that we need. And that's what our climate plan tells us to do. And we can't move forward with the state climate plan for buildings until we pass the New York Heat Act. So first and foremost, climate change. Also, health and safety. We know that gas is dangerous. It explodes. It leaks in our houses. It is full of toxins. It impacts negatively our indoor air quality. It causes asthma and other health impacts. And so we really should be, gas should really never have been allowed to be something that we burned inside our houses because it's so unsafe and so unhealthy. And so as we start to transition off gas, we improve our indoor safety and indoor air quality as well. Jobs in the economy. As we make this transition, we're going to be creating literally thousands and hundreds of thousands of jobs. And that is because we have a lot of work to do to make sure our buildings are well insulated and air sealed and that they get heat pumps installed, or that we build what's called a thermal energy network where multiple buildings, whole neighborhoods can be joined together on one heating system that is run by heat pumps, but where there's a shared heating loop in the ground, and those are have real potential for transforming our energy system in an equitable and affordable way. And building those is going to take a lot of work from a lot of different people, from the engineers that design these systems to the people that actually dig up the streets and lay the pipe to the people that improve the insides of the buildings to connect to these systems. So these are jobs that can never be outsourced. They're good family sustaining jobs, and these jobs are going to be going on for, the rest of our foreseeable future, decades to come. So it's really a great investment in our homes, our buildings, our communities, and our people. And last but certainly not least is the energy affordability aspect of the New York Heat Act. So there's a lot of different ways that New York Heat contributes to energy affordability, but the most obvious one, hello, slides are gone. Don't know what happened. They'll be back though. The most obvious one is the New York Heat Act contains a provision that will limit household energy bill spending to 6% of that household's income. This is actually already the policy of New York State, but it hasn't really been enacted. So the New York Heat Act codifies that policy and says that the Public Service Commission has to figure out how to do this income limit. But there's also other ways that this bill saves money. So right now, we are compelled to pay to subsidize the expansion of the gas system. That's about $200 million a year. And that would be eliminated when we pass the New York Heat Act. And further, the New York Heat Act is going to avoid future costs of the gas system because it's going to allow the gas companies, instead of laying new gas pipe, which is very expensive, and replacing old gas pipe, they're going to be able to build these thermal energy networks instead. So where are we with the slides, guys? Is Kim or Jessica here? Can they share the slides? Did we lose them? Not sure where we are.
So I don't see Jessica in the participant list anymore. So I think that may have happened.
Got it. Okay, well, no problem. I will just share the slides from my screen, and we can do it that way. Sorry for that interruption, folks. Let me just get right back on here. I'm gonna, oh, here she comes. I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Where are those slides? Okay, share my screen. Sorry about that. Little technical difficulty there. Let's see if this works. Nope, that did not work. That's not good. Where are my slides? Alrighty. Jessica, are you back?
She's still in the process of joining.
Okay. Trying to find the right, oh, here we go. Now I'm sharing the right slides. Okay, so can you all see that? Great. So let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to turn it over now to Andra, who's going to walk us through all of the incredible power building and work that the climate movement in New York and everybody on this call has contributed to in the past month. So Andra, take it away.
Thank you, Lisa. So it is definitely my great honor and pleasure to talk to you about this section, our grassroots power. When I was compiling these slides, I couldn't believe how much we crammed into 1 month since our last power hour on March 7th. We just like hit the ground running after that meeting and we have not stopped. So on March 13th, over 200 advocates descended on Albany, and we had an amazing rally on the $1 Million Staircase, which 17 legislators attended. It was emceed by 2 youth who were just absolutely amazing and did such a great job framing the whole press event. Then we had 60 plus lobby visits and then more drop-offs. We did line the halls advocacy on the way between security and the Capitol. We distributed these super fun lollipops with stickers on them, 1,000 of them. They went like hotcakes. It was amazing, you know, with fun sayings on them like "Don't suck past New York heat" and other such great little pithy advice. And we also had a tabling event in the hallway at the LOB entrance, beautifully put together. We had photo opportunities. We had installers of different kinds of technology that would help us get off of fossil fuels. It was really very welcoming and very well attended. Next slide, please. Yes. And then the following week, just 1 week later, New York Renews organized a rally and lobby day. It was for climate, jobs, and justice, their package, and New York Heat is part of that package. So we all threw down, and a lot of us ran right back to Albany the next week. They had over 500 people representing 60 organizations, and they were visible all over the Capitol. They had people going from the $1 Million Staircase shown in this photo to the war room, to the staircase outside the assembly. We were loud, we had signs, we were visible. And again, we showed the people power that is behind the New York Heat Act and the Climate, Jobs, and Justice package. Next slide, please. And then, oh, this was actually the following week, the New Yorkers in our group staged a hike against bill hikes. So about 20 people walked over the Brooklyn Bridge, beautiful signage, beautiful weather, lots of support, and they ended up at Governor Hochul's New York City office and had a press conference outside there. It was an amazing show of power in New York City, right outside her door. Next slide, please. And then the Youth Day of Action in Albany. So organized by New York Renews and Triage, again, visibility, over 400 students all over the Capitol, and they were fighting for the Climate, Jobs, and Justice package. A lot of amazing video footage came out of that day of action in Albany, and a lot of it is being shared on social media. So next slide, please. And so we also have generated a lot of news hits. Some of them, it's kind of like the first time that a bill that I've worked on has kind of seen this sort of wide range of visibility in the media. And so you can just check out these sources, these media sources, and also I think I have some links that I popped into the notes. Are they there, Lisa, that we could share? And if people want to check them out, you can look at the articles, you can share them on social media and help even get more eyes on them. And the final one, the Sierra Club Letters to the Editor group now has about 400 pages assembled of op-eds and letters to the editor. And that link is also going to be provided to you. So if you ever need to like have some material to share with a legislator or share with a friend who you're trying to convince to help us, there's tons of material here that you can help. Oh, and also finally on April 2nd, we got that tweet from Mark Ruffalo. So you know what happens when he tweets, we win. So this is looking good. Next slide, please. Oops, I think we skipped some. So yeah, we've been doing our grassroots power. We've been making a lot of phone calls. We had a 1,000 calls to Hochul action going on, a call relay, and with a lot of help from all of our allies, we made those 1,000 calls and probably even a few more. We're not going to be giving up because we're in the thick of it, and this wild budget season ride is not over. April 1st came and went, and we don't have a budget yet. And so here I'll be handing it over to Liz Moran of Earth Justice to kind of walk you through that budget season timeline.
Great. Thanks so much, Andra. Just need to head to the next slide if we can. Awesome. Okay. So as Andra just shared, April 1st is the statutory deadline for a final budget. However, it is late. It is not highly unusual for budgets to be late, though certainly not ideal. So just so folks are aware of where we are in the general landscape, the governor, when the governor put forward her proposed budget back in mid-January, included key portions of the NY Heat Act. Just under a month later, the Senate and the Assembly came out with their proposed versions of the budget. And the Senate included the full NY Heat Act, which was absolutely wonderful. The Assembly, unfortunately, did fall short. The Assembly ended up including some nods towards affordability. They mentioned the NY Heat Act, specifically, they mentioned the 100-foot rule in a supporting document to their one house budget proposals. The Assembly puts forward a document, without getting too in the weeds, called Summary of Changes. It's in that document, which is not a formal document that they vote on, but supports their budget bills, where they mentioned an openness towards the 100-foot rule. So not really where we want them to be exactly. But now we're in this process where there's all the parties have to come together to agree on a singular budget. So all of the cards have been placed on the table. The Assembly, the Senate, and the governor are starting to have meetings known as tables, where they're talking about different parts of the budget process. So now that that's happening, that's where things start to get challenging, right? Because they may not all agree on everything in the budget. So if we can go to the next slide. So last year, we saw a budget that was just about a month late. We did not get a budget until May 2nd. And that was because there were some significant disagreements between the governor and the legislature on key items. So the governor wanted to resolve those things. one of the controversial items last year had to do with housing. There were some other reasons why the budget was late last year too. It was the first year after the governor's election. In the first year after a governor's election, they actually get some additional time to propose their executive budget proposal. The governor actually took that up, so she didn't propose a budget till later. But without rehashing to all that, we didn't get a budget until May 2nd. Housing was a really big reason why the budget was late. They couldn't come to an agreement on some things. There was also a lot of policy in the budget. And so it became a challenging situation. I'll also note, in terms of New York's history around budgets, it was only in more recent years that we started to have timely budgets. This was a hallmark of the Cuomo administration. The Hochul administration has aimed to differentiate itself from the Cuomo administration, but prior to the Cuomo administration, it was not unusual at all for very late budgets. And the governor could actually use late budgets to her advantage. I won't get too into the details of all those politics, but under the state constitution, the governor has an inordinate amount of power. We used to see, before the Cuomo era, the governor use extenders, so basically the bills that keep the government functioning while the budget is late, as a means of leverage to force the legislature on negotiations. So we don't want that to happen. And so far that has not happened. So in any case, housing, like last year, one of the big things that's being discussed right now. Rumor mill is saying that once housing is figured out, there's a good chance that other pieces of the budget start moving quickly. The other feud that's happening right now in the budget process is over how much money to spend. The legislature proposed budgets that includes a lot more spending. The governor has a preference to put more money towards the state's rainy day fund. So that's another thing that could hold up the process. So right now, many of the tables, including the table where NY heat is being discussed, are kind of at a standstill. Negotiations are still, as far as I'm aware as of now, on the slower side. However, as I said, if one domino falls, in this case, it sounds like it may be housing, the rest may follow suit. So once there's a deal on the big ticket item, it means that negotiations on other areas in the budget could start moving really quickly. So right now we have an extender. The budget won't have to be, another extender won't have to be voted on again until Sunday, Monday. The legislature is in this coming week. So there's a chance that the budget could be finished up in the next week or so, but we don't know for certain. So right now we're really in that sit around and wait. We have to keep doing what we've been doing, keep talking to our representatives and all of the other tactics that Lisa and Andra just went through until we have a final budget. Until the budget's final, we are not done with our work. So I will pass it back. I think I'm passing it back to Lisa.
Thanks, Liz. And we just have so much to thank Liz Moran and Earth Justice for. Liz, a big part of her job is to prowl around the halls of Albany, talk to legislators, coax them, cajole them, and extract information from them. And she's very, very good at it. So we're incredibly grateful to have Liz Moran as part of our movement. And thanks, Liz, for explaining this very difficult to understand process to us tonight. Next, I want to bring on Jessica Aguilé from AGREE, or Alliance for a Green Economy, who's going to sort of talk about the state of politics with our bill and what we can do about it.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks Lisa, and thanks to everyone for joining tonight. All right, so I think, as has been mentioned, we've had incredible support for the New York Heat Act, and we have very strong support from the Senate, and we have a pretty strong proposal, especially on the gas transition side of things, from the governor's office in both the Senate and the governor's budgets. And so the question is, where is the assembly and how do we get the assembly on board? Because the assembly did not include the New York Heat Act in their one house budget. So we're going to talk tonight about how we continue to pressure the assembly. So first of all, I want to just reinforce that we do have the majority of assembly members as co-sponsors on the bill. So we have majority support in that house for this bill. So there is no reason why this house should not be supporting New York Heat. So the question is, why don't we have stronger support from the assembly as a whole and from assembly leadership? And there's a lot of theories about this. One is, okay, we have support for the bill, but how strong is the support? How much have the supporters voiced support for this bill and really pushed the leadership to get this bill in the budget? Another is, we have a handful of holdouts who are not supporters of the bill. Are they powerful enough to overcome the majority support we have? And then another question is, are special interests at work here? Are there other actors in the space that have influence with the assembly leadership that's preventing the leadership from supporting New York Heat? So we have been pursuing multiple strategies to push the assembly to support the New York Heat Act, the full New York Heat Act in the budget. Next slide. So right now, we have kind of a two-pronged assembly strategy that we hope you will all continue to engage with us on and help with. So one is to strengthen our support throughout the state, making sure that legislators who are co-sponsors of the bill are speaking up, that they keep showing up at events, keep tweeting about it, keep going to the speaker about it, keep speaking up with their colleagues about it. So we've been asking you and everyone working on New York Heat to contact supportive legislators and ask them to keep fighting. Sometimes when we talk to legislators and people make calls to legislators, we hear them say, well, we're a sponsor on the bill, so we're supportive. And so now is the moment where we need our sponsors to do more than sponsor. We need them to also fight for the bill. We need them to be speaking up publicly for the bill. We need them to be going to the leadership of the assembly and saying they want this bill and need to deliver this bill to their constituents because energy affordability is critical to the people in their communities. And we need to make them understand that it's necessary to deliver New York Heat, that it's not enough to just co-sponsor at this point. We need them to deliver this bill. And so we need you to keep calling your assembly members, to contact assembly members that you have relationships with, to ask others to call their assembly members, and especially the supporters of New York Heat in the assembly, and ask them to fight hard to get this in the budget. And then we're also continue to work on the handful of assembly members that are not supporting New York Heat. And one of the areas that we're very focused on right now is Western New York, and specifically the Buffalo area. And we're asking our movement to come into an all hands on deck movement to help our allies and our movement in Buffalo to get the word out to constituents in Buffalo that the fate of New York Heat is hanging in the balance of the budget, that we want to deliver cleaner heat and lower bills, because one thing that's happening in Buffalo is that the utility National Fuel, which is a fracked gas company that does fracking and extracts gas and then pipes that gas into New York and sells it in the Buffalo area, they are going all out to stop the New York Heat Act. And so as a result, even though we have a lot of support from assembly members all over the state of New York. We don't have that many assembly members. We have one in the Buffalo area that is supporting the bill, and the rest are not. And so we really think that National Fuel has had a big influence on the media market in the Buffalo area, on the power players in the Buffalo area, those with influence over the local elected officials and the state elected officials. And so we want to thank Assemblymember Rivera for standing up and supporting New York Heat. And we want to push the other assembly members in the Buffalo area to come on board and to support the HEAT Act and to help get it in the budget, or at least to not work against us. So we are asking all of you to help in that particular area of the state that has a lot, it's very powerful area of the state. And it's an area where we don't have as much support in the assembly. So I am going to pass it over, I think, to Lisa now to walk through actions we're going to take as a movement in this all hands on deck moment to help out our friends in Buffalo.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jessica. So here's what we have coming up. We're going to focus on Buffalo, and I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do that. We're going to invite you to another call relay that New York Renews is doing on Monday. That's the Eclipse Day, and we have some fun eclipse-related messaging for that. And we're going to take action together on this call, and then we're going to let you go on your merry way. So let's get to it. All right. So we have a theory that we hope is true, that probably everybody knows somebody in Buffalo. Maybe it's a student that goes to college in Buffalo. Maybe it's a friend that moved to Buffalo. Maybe it's a family member. Maybe it's your college roommate. I tried an experiment today. I put up notice on my personal Facebook and I said, hey, who do I know in Buffalo or the Buffalo area? And people that I had forgotten lived there or that I didn't know that well that are Facebook friends with me said, hey, I live in Buffalo. And then I messaged them on Facebook and asked them to help me by making a phone call to their legislator. And you can do this too. So we are hoping that you will rack your brains and comb through your mental Rolodex and think about who you know in Buffalo and reach out to them and just ask them if they could spend 3 minutes helping you to pass this important climate bill that you've been working on that means a lot to you. And maybe you could reach up to 10 people in Buffalo. It doesn't take that many calls to get the intention of these legislators. And emails are good too. Calls are better, but emails are really good to do too. And we're going to share with you a Google Doc that will have email and call scripts and phone numbers. I can't share it with you at this moment, but we're going to share that with you. And Andra is going to share a tweet in the chat from our friends at Push Buffalo with some of those phone numbers and a call script. So that is one thing. And I'm just going to give folks a little moment to put in the chat, who do you know in Buffalo? You don't have to give their name, but who do you know in Buffalo that you're going to reach out to? What's that one or two people that you might know in Buffalo? Is it an old friend, a Facebook friend, a relative, a friend of a friend, a college student? Rack your brains and help jog people's memories, because I was actually surprised. I had quite a few more people in Buffalo than I realized. So just trying to get those juices flowing. Give you a minute. So let's see. Oh, high school friend, son's best friend and her husband. Awesome. A retired teacher friend, a friend who moved there from Syracuse. These are great ideas. I love it. My daughter's college buddy. My son lives there. Fantastic. Okay, and it doesn't have to be in the city of Buffalo. There's 5 legislators in the area, and all of them need to be getting calls and emails, including Rivera, who's on the bill. He needs to be getting calls thanking him for being a co-sponsor and asking him to stay strong. All right, so I'm going to go to the next slide. So as we mentioned, on Monday, there's a call relay. We're going to be calling the governor, the Speaker Hasty, and Senate Leader Stuart Cousins for both the HEAT Act and the Climate Superfund to be in the budget. And we have some fun eclipse puns because we're in the path of totality, and something that we're worried about is that they're going to try to pass part of New York Heat, but not the most important part, which is this change in the public utility law. So we're going to ask them to pass the totality of New York Heat and not to let National Fuel eclipse our climate plan. We're going to have some social media around that too, so be on the lookout for that on Monday when you're celebrating the eclipse and out there having fun. So is the call relay link in the chat, Andra?
Yes, I just put it there.
Awesome. So Andra linked a Google Sheet in the chat, and we're really so grateful to our movement allies, the New Yorker News campaign, who are running this next call relay. And we hope you will all participate in that. And for those who've participated in the call relays before, you know, it's really fun. It's very community feeling when you get the text from the person ahead of you in line and you text the next person to keep it going. Okay. Speaking of wonderful movement allies, one of the members of Renewable Heat Now is Food and Water Watch, and they are running some phone banks. They have pulled a list of climate activists in the Buffalo or Erie County area, and so you'll be calling friendly people who care about these issues. And the phone banking, I just heard from some folks who phone banked tonight and reached a bunch of people in Buffalo who agreed to call their legislators. So this is you calling people in Buffalo that are part of the climate movement and saying, hey, will you help us get this New York Heat Act passed by making a call and or sending an email to your legislator? So there's a link in the chat for you to sign up for phone banking. They have a really great phone bank system. This dialer, it dials from your computer. You don't have to use your own phone. And then it automatically patches through. If people agree to make the call, it'll patch them through to their legislator so they don't have to dial. So it's really a great tool and it's easy to use. And I think you'll enjoy it. And we really need people to help make these calls in the next few days. So April 5th, I think that's tomorrow, and then 9th and 10th next week. So please sign up. I just heard from a few people who are on this call that they did it and it worked really well and it was really fun. So thanks, Bill Nowak and Bill Mattingly and others for joining Food and Water Watch in this great action. Okay, so now we are all going to pull out our phones right this minute and make another call to Governor Hochul and leave a message. You don't have to talk to a person because it's after hours. I'm going to mute myself and make my call, and I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes. You just, when you get connected, just press 1 and leave a message using the script or your own words to just ask Hochul to fight hard for the full New York Heat Act in the budget. So I'm going to mute myself and ask everybody to make the call. Maybe I'll stop sharing and we can all see each other make the calls right now.
Can you please share again? I didn't get the number.
Oh, that was silly of me. Let me share again. That was very silly. Let me share my screen one more time. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. I thought it would be fun for us to see each other. I forgot that you needed the number on the screen. My bad. Okay, awesome. Thank you guys for calling. I see Peter called, Maura called, Peggy called, Andra called, Mona called, Sarah called, Rachel called, Jessica called, Heidi called, and Christy called, and Diana. Thank you guys so much. We're not doing another call relay right now, but I would encourage you to make a note in your calendar to just call Governor Hochul every day until this budget is passed. It's a simple thing to do and it doesn't take long. And even though she put a big part of New York Heat in her budget, she definitely still needs the encouragement from the public. All right. So now we're switching gears, a little bit of a surprise thing here, but I wanted to tell you about something else Renewable Heat Now is working on, which is called the New Efficiency New York Order, or NENI. And this is $5 billion that has already been allocated for home energy efficiency and heat pumps. And we need to make sure that the state spends this money appropriately. And there's a comment period that ends April 15th. So we have a teach-in happening next Wednesday at noon to tell you about it and how you can help influence this process of how this money is spent. This is for the same things that we're advocating for in our campaign. And we want to make sure the money is spent properly because it's a lot of money and it's our money. It's money that we spend on our energy bills. So if someone could put the link in the chat to sign up, even if you're not free Wednesday at noon, if you sign up, you'll get sent the recording. And we'd love to have you involved with NENI. It's something we were hoping we could focus on after the budget was over, but here we are. We have to do two things at the same time. So we have a great lineup of speakers, and it should be very interesting to learn about how the state programs are approaching home energy efficiency and the transition to heat pumps now, and what we think they could do better. So I think that's it for tonight. We're going to ask you to, we're going to send an email out to all of you to remind you to reach out to your Western New York friends and get them involved, to call Hochul every day, to join the New York Renews call relay, to join Food and Water Watch for the phone banking. And we normally have a sign up for our next month's Power Hour. In this case, since we don't know when the budget is coming out and we don't know what's going to happen, as soon as we find out what's going to happen, we are going to send out an email inviting you to another Power Hour where hopefully we'll be celebrating a wonderful climate victory for all of us and all of New York State. Or we might have to have a response that is very loud and very angry. So we're hoping for the first, we're preparing for anything, and we're so happy to be on this journey along with all of you. And so with that, I think I will now stop sharing my screen, my slides, and thank everybody for being here. Thanks to our wonderful presenters and to Andra, especially for putting together these beautiful slides today. Jessica, it looked like you were about to say something.
Yes, I just wanted to take one moment to appreciate the comms folks who came up with the totality of New York heat and don't eclipse the climate plan. Thank you so much to our comms crew working on New York heat across many organizations have really brought it this session, and just really want to thank all of you and give special love because that is brilliant. And yes, that's all I wanted to say. I feel like you breezed by that without a opportunity for everyone to laugh and give appreciation for that brilliance.
Yes, that actually, the totality was thanks to Marie at New Yorker News. So don't want to take credit for that. She came up with that, and we came up with don't let national fuel eclipse our climate plan. So we have a great crew. We have wonderful creative minds, and we try to keep even though we're doing serious work, we try to always appreciate each other and have as much fun as possible. And we couldn't do it without all of you. So thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Keep up the good fight. This budget can't last forever. They have to sign a budget because the legislators have to get paid. So um, it will be done, and it can happen very fast at the end, and we need to apply as much pressure as possible until then. So thanks, everybody. New York is a better state because of each and every one of you, and we're so happy to have you as part of this campaign. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks everyone.